What if I told you your body already knows how to burn fat fast, not slowly, not painfully, but efficiently, naturally, and powerfully, and yet most people never access it? Not because they're lazy, not because they lack discipline, but because one hormone is silently blocking the entire process. They told you fat loss was simple: eat less, move more, and the weight will fall off. But if that were true, millions of people wouldn't still be stuck in bodies that refuse to change. Because the real truth is this: fat loss is not controlled by calories alone. It is controlled by a powerful hormone that decides every second of the day whether your body burns fat or stores it. That hormone is insulin. Right now, inside your body, insulin is acting like a gatekeeper. When it rises, it sends a clear message: store energy, lock away fat, do not burn it. This isn't opinion. This is human biology. Insulin is released when you eat, especially when you consume carbohydrates. It helps move glucose from your blood into your cells, but it also does something most people never hear about. It shuts down fat burning. Studies in metabolic science show that even moderate increases in insulin can suppress lipolysis, the process where your body breaks down fat for energy. In simple terms, when insulin is high, your body cannot efficiently access its own fat stores. Think about that for a second. You could be eating less, exercising more, doing everything right, but if your insulin stays elevated, your fat stays locked. This is why so many people feel trapped, because they're trying to burn fat while their hormones are blocking the door. And here's where it gets even more shocking. You don't need massive amounts of sugar to keep insulin high. Even small, frequent meals can do it. A bite here, a snack there, a sip of something sweet. Each one triggers insulin. Each one tells your body, we're still in storage mode. Now imagine this happening all day long. Breakfast spikes insulin. Mid-morning snack spikes it again. Lunch keeps it elevated. Afternoon cravings push it higher. Dinner, and then late night eating. Never let it fall. Your body is stuck in a constant state of storing, never burning. It's like trying to empty a bathtub while the faucet is still running. And over time, this leads to something even more dangerous: insulin resistance. This is where your cells stop responding properly to insulin. Your body produces more and more of it just to manage blood sugar, and higher insulin means even stronger fat storage signals. This is the hidden engine behind weight gain, stubborn belly fat, and metabolic disease. In fact, research has linked chronically elevated insulin levels to conditions like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and even cardiovascular disease. But here's the part most people never realize: you cannot out-exercise high insulin. You can burn calories, yes. But if insulin remains elevated, your body will fight to preserve fat. It will slow your metabolism, increase hunger signals, trigger cravings for quick energy, especially sugar. This is not a lack of willpower. This is your biology trying to survive. Because from your body's perspective, high insulin means food is still coming in. So why would it tap into stored fat? It won't, not until insulin drops. And this is where everything changes. Because the moment insulin levels fall low enough, then your body switches fuel sources. It stops relying on incoming food and starts pulling energy from stored fat. Fat cells open, triglycerides break down into fatty acids. Your body begins burning its own reserves. This is not a theory. This is a well-documented metabolic process. It's how humans survived for thousands of years without constant food access. It's built into your DNA. But in today's world, we've unknowingly shut it off. Constant eating, ultra-processed foods, sugar hidden in everything, all of it keeps insulin elevated and fat burning turned off. So when someone says, I just can't lose weight, what they often mean is, my body is stuck in storage mode. And until that changes, nothing else will. Because fat loss doesn't begin in the gym, it doesn't begin with willpower, it begins with hormones, specifically insulin. Control insulin, and you control the switch. Ignore it, and you'll keep fighting an uphill battle. This is why two people can eat the same number of calories and have completely different results because their hormonal environments are different. One has lower insulin, allowing fat burning. The other has elevated insulin, blocking it. Same calories, different outcome. That's the power of this hormone. And once you understand this, everything starts to make sense. Why low-carb diets often lead to faster fat loss. Why intermittent fasting can be so effective. Why constant snacking keeps people stuck. It's not magic, it's insulin. But here's the most empowering part of all. You can influence it. Every meal you eat, every snack you skip, every hour you give your body without food sends a signal. You're either telling your body to store fat or giving it permission to burn it. And most people have never been taught this. They've been told to count calories, to push harder, to blame themselves, when in reality, they were never given the key. The key is understanding how your body actually works. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Fat loss is no longer a mystery. It becomes a strategy, a biological process you can guide instead of fight. Because at the end of the day, your body is not broken. It is responding exactly the way it was designed to. The question is, are you working with it or against it? Because the moment you bring insulin under control, you don't just lose fat, you unlock a system that was there all along. You wake up determined to do better, to eat clean, to finally lose the weight that refuses to leave. You choose what you've been told is healthy, maybe cereal, toast, fruit juice. It feels right, it feels disciplined, it feels like progress, but within minutes, something invisible happens inside your body. Your blood sugar rises, your pancreas responds, and insulin surges into your bloodstream. This is not a small reaction. This is a powerful hormonal signal that changes everything. Insulin doesn't just manage blood sugar, it decides your metabolic state, and in that moment, your body quietly shifts into fat storage mode. No warning, no feeling, no awareness. Just a silent command: store, don't burn. A few hours later, hunger creeps back in, not because you need energy, but because your blood sugar is dropping after that spike. So you reach for a snack, maybe something small, maybe something quick, but your body doesn't see it as small. It sees it as another signal to release insulin. Again, fat burning shuts down. Again, storage mode continues. This cycle repeats itself all day long. Lunch, snack, drink, bite, taste. Each one feels harmless. Each one feels normal. But metabolically, they are stacking insulin on top of insulin. And here's the part that changes everything. Your body cannot burn fat while insulin is elevated. This isn't a theory. It's a well-established physiological mechanism. Insulin suppresses lipolysis, the breakdown of stored fat. It literally locks fat inside your cells. So even if you're eating fewer calories, even if you're trying your best, if insulin never drops, fat burning never truly begins. Think about that. You're trying to lose weight, but your body is being told over and over again to store it. This is why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and still not seeing results, because they're unknowingly triggering insulin all day long. And it's not just obvious sugar. It's the healthy foods too: refined grains, frequent fruit intake, processed snacks labeled as low fat. Many of these foods digest quickly, turning into glucose, spiking insulin rapidly. Even worse, liquid calories. Sugary drinks, juices, sweetened teas, they enter your bloodstream fast, causing sharp insulin spikes, often without making you feel full. So you keep consuming and insulin keeps rising. But here's where it becomes dangerous, because over time, this constant stimulation leads to insulin resistance. Your cells stop responding efficiently. Your body compensates by producing even more insulin, and now, instead of short spikes, you have chronically elevated insulin levels. This is the environment where fat gain accelerates, especially around the abdomen. Visceral fat, deep belly fat, is strongly linked to insulin resistance. And it's not just about appearance. This type of fat is metabolically active, contributing to inflammation, hormonal disruption, and increased disease risk. Research has shown that chronic high insulin levels are associated with type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic syndrome. But it doesn't feel like a disease at first. It feels like fatigue, cravings, stubborn weight. It feels like your body is working against you. Because in a way, it is. Not because it's broken, but because it's responding to constant signals. Eat, insulin rises, eat again, insulin rises again, never stop eating, insulin never falls, and without that drop, fat burning remains locked. Now imagine a different scenario. Imagine your body actually getting a break. No snacks, no constant input, no repeated insulin spikes. For the first time all day, insulin begins to fall. Not dramatically, but steadily. And as it drops, something remarkable happens. Your body looks around for energy. There's no incoming food. So it turns inward to stored fat. Fat cells begin to release fatty acids. Energy becomes stable. Hunger quiets. This is the state your body was designed for. But most people rarely reach it because modern eating patterns interrupt it constantly. We've normalized eating every few hours. We've been told it boosts metabolism, prevents hunger, keeps energy stable. But for many people, it does the opposite. It keeps insulin elevated and fat burning suppressed. And the longer this pattern continues, the harder it becomes to reverse because insulin resistance builds slowly, silently, until one day weight gain feels uncontrollable, until one day blood sugar numbers start to rise, until one day the diagnosis comes. But long before that, the signs were there, the cravings, the fatigue, the stubborn fat, all pointing to one thing: insulin out of balance. And yet, the solution is simpler than most people think. It's not about extreme dieting. It's not about suffering. It's about understanding the signal. Every time you eat, you send a message. The question is, how often are you sending it? Because frequency matters more than most people realize. It's not just what you eat, it's how often you eat. Reduce the frequency and you reduce insulin spikes. Create space between meals and you allow insulin to fall. And in that space, your body finally gets the chance to burn fat. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. This is the shift that changes everything, from constant feeding to strategic eating, from chasing energy to creating it internally, from fighting your body to working with it. Because once you understand this, you start to see your habits differently. That snack isn't just a snack, it's a signal. That drink isn't just a drink, it's a hormonal trigger. And those small choices, repeated daily, shape your entire metabolism. So if you've been stuck, if you've been frustrated, if you've been wondering why nothing works, ask yourself one simple question: how often am I triggering insulin? Because the answer to that question might be the missing piece you've been searching for all along. There is a moment, a very specific moment, when your body stops storing fat and starts burning it. Most people never reach it, not because it's impossible, but because they've never been shown how to trigger it. They've been taught to eat less, to suffer more, to fight cravings with willpower. But fat burning doesn't begin with willpower. It begins with a signal, a hormonal shift so powerful it can change the entire direction of your metabolism. That signal is this: lower insulin long enough, and your body has no choice but to burn fat. This is not a trend. This is not a hack in the superficial sense. This is deeply rooted human physiology, because insulin is not just a hormone, it is a switch. When it's high, your body is in storage mode. When it drops, your body enters fat burning mode. And the longer it stays low, the deeper your body goes into its own energy reserves. This is where real fat loss begins. Not at the surface, not temporary water weight, but actual stored fat being broken down and used as fuel. And here's what makes this so powerful. Your body already knows how to do this. It's built into your DNA. For thousands of years, humans didn't have constant access to food. There were natural gaps between meal, sometimes hours, sometimes longer. During those gaps, insulin fell, and when it fell, the body adapted. It learned to burn fat efficiently. It learned to survive and even thrive without constant eating. But in today's world, that system is constantly interrupted. Food is everywhere. Snacks are normalized. Eating every few hours is encouraged. And as a result, insulin rarely gets the chance to drop. So the fat burning system stays turned off. Not broken, just unused. But the moment you give your body what it needs, space without food, everything begins to change, because when insulin drops, another process begins to rise: fat oxidation. This is the process where your body takes stored fat, breaks it down into fatty acids, then uses it as energy. At the same time, your liver begins producing ketones, alternative fuel molecules that can power your brain, your muscles, your entire system. This state is often called nutritional ketosis. And it's not dangerous, it's not extreme, it's a natural metabolic state supported by decades of research. In fact, studies have shown that when insulin levels decrease, fat oxidation increases significantly. The body becomes more efficient, more stable, more resilient. Energy no longer depends on constant food intake. It comes from within, and this is where the real transformation begins. Because when your body starts using its own fat for fuel, hunger changes. Cravings begin to fade. Energy becomes steady, not spiking and crashing throughout the day. This is not because you're forcing discipline, it's because your hormones are finally aligned. Now, let's talk about how to actually trigger this, because this is where most people either succeed or stay stuck. The first step is simple, but powerful. Reduce the foods that spike insulin the most. Refined carbohydrates, sugars, ultra-processed foods. These are the biggest drivers of insulin elevation. When you remove or reduce them, insulin naturally begins to stabilize, and in their place, you introduce foods that support metabolic balance: healthy fats, moderate protein, low carbohydrate vegetables, foods that nourish without constantly triggering insulin spikes. This is not about restriction, it's about control, because every time you eat, you are sending a signal. And when those signals are calmer, more stable, your body responds accordingly. But food alone is not enough, because even low-carb eating, if done constantly, can still keep insulin elevated, which brings us to the second step: time. Specifically, time without eating. This is where intermittent fasting becomes powerful, not because it's a trend, but because it restores something we've lost: a natural rhythm. When you stop eating for a period of time, insulin begins to fall, gradually, steadily, predictably, and after several hours, your body reaches a point where it must choose: continue waiting for food or start using stored energy. And it chooses survival. It chooses fat burning. This is why even a 12-hour fasting window can begin to make a difference. It gives your body a break, a chance to reset. But as you extend that window, 14 hours, 16 hours, the effect becomes stronger. Not because you're starving, but because you're finally allowing insulin to stay low long enough for fat burning to fully activate. And here's what most people don't expect: it gets easier. Because as your body adapts, it becomes more efficient at using fat for fuel. Hunger becomes less intense. Cravings become less frequent. Energy becomes more stable. This is called metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between fuel sources depending on availability, and it is one of the most powerful indicators of metabolic health. But there's another layer to this, one that goes beyond fat loss. When insulin levels are consistently high, inflammation tends to increase. Blood sugar fluctuations create stress inside the body. Oxidative damage rises, but when insulin is controlled and blood sugar is stable, the body enters a more balanced state. Inflammation decreases. Energy systems become more efficient. Even brain function can improve. Some research suggests that ketones produced during low insulin states may provide a cleaner, more stable fuel for the brain, leading to better focus, mental clarity, and reduced brain fog. So this is not just about how you look. It's about how you function, how you think, how you feel, how your body performs at a cellular level. But let's be clear, this is not about extremes. You don't need to jump into long fasts overnight. You don't need to eliminate everything at once because the goal is not punishment. The goal is adaptation. Start simple. Create a 12-hour window without food. Let your body experience that shift. Then gradually extend it if it feels right. Focus on whole foods, nutrient-dense meals, eaten with intention. And most importantly, eliminate constant snacking because every snack, no matter how small, interrupts the process. It raises insulin and pauses fat burning. Give your body the space it needs and it will respond. But there is one more truth you need to understand. This process is powerful, and with power comes responsibility. If you are taking medications, and especially those that affect blood sugar, changes in insulin levels can have real effects. So it's important to approach this with awareness, with understanding, and when necessary, with guidance, because your body can change faster than you expect. And that's a good thing, because for so long, you may have felt stuck, like no matter what you did, nothing worked. But the reality is, your body was never broken. It was simply responding to the signals you were giving it. And now you have the ability to change those signals, to lower insulin, to unlock fat burning, to restore balance, not through force, but through alignment. Because the moment insulin drops, the moment your body finally gets that signal, everything begins to shift. Fat is no longer the enemy. It becomes fuel. Energy is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you generate. And for the first time, you are no longer fighting your body. You are working with it. And that changes everything.